The Brown versus Board of Education case. By Laren Spear. What was the Brown versus Board of Education case? The Brown versus Board of Education case marked the beginning of the civil rights movement and took the first step toward integration. This landmark Supreme Court decision abolished segregation in schools all over America. But how did it come about? Let's start with the subject of the case, Linda Brown. Linda Brown was like any regular 8-year-old girl, except for one thing. She was African American. African Americans couldn't use the same things whites used or do the same things whites did, but they did things that went places that were supposed to be separate but equal. Linda Brown and other African American students in Topeka, Kansas were forced to go to an all-African American school. Linda lived very near to a white public school, but was forced to walk more than a mile to get to a bus stop, take a school bus to get to the colored school, every day, year-round. This angered Linda's parents, so her dad, Oliver Brown, filed a lawsuit against the Topeka Board of Education. The Browns wanted to send Linda to the white school. The NAACP, or the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, was an organization that aimed to abolish discrimination. They wanted to overturn the Plessy v. Ferguson decision, a decision that kept places segregated, but didn't know how. Linda Brown's case was a golden opportunity. But what was the Plessy v. Ferguson case? The Plessy v. Ferguson case was a landmark case where the doctrine of separate but equal emerged. Homer Plessy, a man with an African American ancestor, was traveling. At the time, if you had one African American ancestor, then you were African American. Plessy sat down in the white railroad car because he looked like a white person. When a conductor came by and asked him to move to the colored car, he refused. Plessy was arrested. He was convicted at the Supreme Court level, where the ruling stated that segregation of the railroad was fine if the two cars were separate but equal, coining the words that segregationists referred back to countless times throughout the 1960s. But back to the Brown case. The NAACP got their lawyer Thurgood Marshall to do the job. Thurgood Marshall was a great lawyer and a future Supreme Court justice. He had the experience and the opportunity to abolish segregation in the school system. He argued that segregation was unconstitutional and that separate but equal was illegal. Earl Warren was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court at the time, appointed by President Eisenhower a few years earlier. He was a successful politician, only losing one election in his lifetime. He was such a great politician, he convinced the rest of the Supreme Court to side with him. Warren favored Brown in this case, and the rest of the Supreme Court did also. Brown and the NAACP ended up winning the case. The ruling said that separate but equal had no place in the school system. Schools were to be integrated with all deliberate speed, and so ended segregation in schools. Or so they thought.